everyone, Tim Schofield here. And I did get some early hands-on with the upcoming Galaxy S20 Ultra from Samsung. Basically their best flagship they've come out with yet. However, it's also priced extremely high, starting at $1,400. I also will be getting one of these soon, so you'll see reviews, you'll see an unboxing coming very soon, so be sure to click that subscribe button. Now, I wanted to give some of my first impressions on this large phone. Yes, it has a good amount of bulk to it. That camera system even does on the back. Takes up a good amount of space because the sensor size is so large. It even has capabilities of up to 100 times zoom with the camera. So let's take a look at some of the new features with the camera on the S20 Ultra, because that's really what genuinely sets it apart from the other models, obviously, of course, with the size as well, and also touch on some of the new features, including that higher refresh rate. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I noticed when I held the S20 Ultra was its size. It is a huge phone. It has a 6.9-inch display. It also weighs 220 grams, which when comparing to the S20 Plus at 186 grams is definitely heavier. It's also fairly thick, but of course you do have a large camera sensor, multiple lenses, and a large battery inside, which adds to all of the size and the weight. There is no headphone jack. Down at the bottom, USB-C slot, speakers, and then on the right side you have your power button and a couple volume rockers. The Ultra has a very large 6.9-inch 2K display, which makes for great content consumption, whether you're watching movies, maybe playing some games. It is fantastic. Again, might be a little harder to handle. You might have to use two hands in certain situations because it is, like I said, a very big phone. Now that display also has a 120 hertz refresh rate, which makes things seem very, very smooth. You have to bump it down to 1080p quality, but I would recommend doing that for the benefits of 120 hertz. If you go up to 1440p, you have to bump it down to 60 hertz. The Ultra also has a 240 hertz touch sensor, so not only is it going to look really smooth with that 120 hertz refresh rate, it'll also respond very quickly to your touch. With the Ultra, it does have 5G, of course. It also starts with 128 gigs of internal storage and 12 gigs of RAM, but you can actually go all the way up to 16 gigs of RAM, which is pretty insane to me that you can have 16 gigs of RAM in a phone. Seems pretty unnecessary right now, but I guess if you're planning to hold on to the phone for a while, it will future-proof it. With the front-facing camera on the Ultra, it has a 40 megapixel sensor as opposed to the 10 megapixels on the other S20, so you should get some better front-facing shots. And then of course, it does have a bit of a smaller cutout compared to the S10. All right, so one of the biggest things that sets the Ultra apart is that rear camera system. So first of all, in the upper left, you have a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, which very happy about, adds a lot more to the shot. The second one is a standard wide angle lens. That's the middle left lens, and that is a 108 megapixel lens, which is crazy that you have that in a phone, which adds to the size of that camera system on the back. With the 108 megapixel lens, Samsung says that you're going to allow 3 times more light than the S10 in and 1.5 times more than the regular S20. So should have a lot better night shots. And then of course, just better pictures in general. They have what they are calling nona binning, where it will take 9 pixels and actually turn it into 1 pixel through some software integration. Now that bottom left lens, you'll see next to it, Space Zoom 100X. So this is a 48 megapixel telephoto lens, which will zoom all the way up to 10 times without losing any quality. However, you can zoom in all the way up to 100X digitally. Samsung has said that there is a prism inside here, which grabs the light and then bounces it to the sensor inside the phone. When in the viewfinder, you can easily swap between that ultra wide angle lens and zoom in. It also gives you options to zoom in at different levels, maybe 4X, 5X, 10X, and then of course all the way up to 100X. And make note in the upper left-hand corner, you do kind of have a viewfinder to kind of let you know, hey, this is the actual angle you're looking at, so it's easier to zoom when you're zoomed in 100X to really see where you want to pinpoint that lens. Now I asked Samsung at what zoom length does that prism lens kick in, and they responded with 4X. So once you hit that 4 times zoom on your phone, it switches to that prism lens. I'll test that out more once I get full hands-on with the phone. Now, do you really need 100 times zoom on a phone? And realistically, I know I personally don't. I don't think it's just something that you're gonna test out once and never use again. I think you will use it occasionally throughout time. However, it's not going to be for any detailed shots. It's not going to be for any shots that you're probably gonna post unless you're trying to show off the 100 times capabilities. realistically, the quality is going to be very grainy. It's a cool proof of concept going into the future, and hopefully it gets better and better over time. And this is exactly what I said back when Huawei launched the P30 and P30 Pro when they had 50 times zoom. Everyone's like, well, the pictures don't look good. Well, yeah, that's not necessarily the point. It's also technically a marketing thing that they can really talk about. Oh, look, our camera can zoom in 100 times. And then when you do it, you're like, well, I'm not going to post this picture. And realistically, that's pretty much the case. But I think maybe if you want to capture some text or you want to zoom in and show a proof of concept, otherwise you're not really going to want to post those pictures. I wasn't able to pull any of the pictures off of the phone when I got hands-on, so I'm going to need a little bit more time with the S20 Ultra. I will actually be getting that very soon, so I'll post some pictures on my Instagram. You can follow that down below. So I'll get those pictures up. I'll take a lot more. I'll run around Chicago, maybe take some cool zoom pictures as well so you can see the quality of those. So stay tuned for that. The S20 Ultra also includes all of the new features coming to the S20 line. I talked about those more in my S20, S20 Plus video, so I don't kind of want to go over those again, but I'll link to that video if you kind of missed it. If you want to see some of those new features, including the new Quick Share, kind of rivaling AirDrop. You also have Music Share to connect to your phone with Bluetooth. It's kind of a neat feature. I don't know how useful it's going to be. And then, of course, the camera features with 8K recording and more. So I'll link to that down below. So that's everything I want to touch on with the S20 Ultra. I think what sets it apart from the S20 line is obviously that camera. It should produce better pictures, better images, and you can zoom in further if you'd like to. And then also that battery. It has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, so it should technically have better battery life. I will do some testing and make sure that it does, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to have the best battery life out of those three phones. I do hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to click that subscribe button. A lot more content coming on these phones. Be sure to click that thumbs up as well if you liked it. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.